Hello there. So I have something very cool to show you. I like to collect old harmonica instructional materials, and about a year ago I came across Everything You Wanted to Know About the Chromatic Harmonica by Blackie Shackner, and there was a very cool treat inside, which was a vinyl phonograph disc. So usually when you get a kind of play-along book or something like that, or some kind of instructional book, if they're old, they'll have a CD in them, or if they're newer, they might have like some kind of online code. But this particular version had a vinyl disc, and it's floppy. Isn't that the coolest thing ever? Anyways, so took me a long time to find a phonograph or a record player to actually borrow, so I could get all the audio out of it. And it's got some very neat things on there. So I without further ado, here's the rest of it. It's very fun.
What you are about to hear constitutes a unique approach to teaching the harmonica, since the lessons in the book will be demonstrated audibly. This is about as close to a real live teacher as one can get. Since the text fully explains the how and why of each example, these instructions will not be repeated on the recording. Although accompaniment has been provided for your convenience, it's not necessary, and the exercises given will sound perfectly fine without it. And now for our first and probably most important lesson, producing a single note. Whether you're lipping or tongue blocking, it should sound like this. Should it sound like this or like this, you're playing too many notes. Again, this is what it should sound like. Our next step is to play the scale. Here it is. The text then goes on to explain how to play this scale down to hole 1. When we combine both scales and add the upper octave, we have a perfectly fine 3-octave diatonic scale. And now for our first song, Frere Jacques. Here's another tune everybody knows, Alouette. Ready for something a bit more ambitious? Sure you are. And here it is. In this next example, we will use a technique called tonguing. It is fully explained in the text. The tune, a great oldie, When the Saints Go Marching In. brings us to the chromatic scale. Here it is ascending and descending. Here they are combined. A good idea is to practice all 3 octaves like this. The next diagram explains how to play this scale in other keys. Here it is in D and in A. And now for some interesting melodies using your chromatic harmonica. Everything you need to know is in the text. First, an original tune called Folk Harmonica. The tracks that follow are devoted exclusively to the chapter on special effects. First, the simple glissando. Here is the same sequence except in chords. And here it is using the button during the draw glissando. Then we have the simple tremolo and the show-off tremolo. The next step is the vibrato. It sounds like this when played in the lipping position. Here is the identical phrase tongue blocking. Single, tonguing, and E-flat scale. Single tonguing using chords, exactly as it appears in the book. It is also possible to double tongue on your harmonica. And even triple tonguing is within your scope. Here is the same phrase in chords. It makes a fine fanfare. Triple tonguing using draw notes only. The art of bending notes is fully explained in the book. When learning to bend draw 4, it should sound like this. When you master it, like this. Then we have the growl, followed by the trill. Here are some half-tone trills played exactly as shown in the text. But what about whole tone trills? Well, most of those are either awkward, they're difficult, or even impossible. But the two that are easily played sound like this. Incidentally, there is no charge for the glissando, which brings us to the shake. That's played exactly like the preceding whole tone trills. The only difference being that the interval will always be greater than a whole tone. Draw 4 and 5 sound like this. Unlike other wind instruments, your chromatic can play many chords as well as single notes. When used properly, chords can sound like an organ. And even the brass section. So experiment. The possibilities are endless. This also holds true for octaves. They sound like this. Although the term double stops has been fully explained in the text, I'm sure you'd like to hear what they sound like. Here then is the exercise in thirds as shown in the text. And the same exercise coupled with an added octave. Then we have sixths, which tend to sound like two instruments playing together. Listen to the following example played exactly as it appears in your book. Which brings us to a marvelous technique called tongue switching, which literally makes the impossible possible. A perfect example of this appears in your book marked Alternating Octaves. It sounds like this. And here is one way in which this technique might be used. In the next example of this technique, we switch fourths. In this case, it's all done with the tongue. Nothing else moves but the slide. Amazing. The how and why of the following simulations are fully explained in the text. First, the harp effect. Then the shimmer. The train, musical version. The train, non-musical. Well, that's the end of the recording. Hopefully you'll have as much fun playing these tunes as I had making them. Good luck.